But if you were to ask me, and honestly this feels a little like messed up to say, I don't really like kids. Small talking is some bullshit. This is why I stopped going to like socializing events, and he should understand that. And if he doesn't, then we already know he might not be the one. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So first off, let's address the fact that I got a new camera! I'm so excited. I've had the 70D for quite a long time, and although the quality was fine, it wasn't like terrible or anything, I just wanted an upgrade. The one I'm using right now is the Canon EOS R, so let me know in the comments what you guys think of the quality, or maybe you don't even really notice the difference. That would just be sad. But today I'm also really excited because we're filming a girl talk video. Girl talk videos are like the bread and butter of this channel. Last night on Instagram, I asked for you guys to send me anything that you're going through. Basically send me a message if there's anything you want me to like cover and talk about. Before we get started, I did want to apologize that I haven't posted in like over a week. And the reason is because I haven't been feeling very well lately. If you watch the vlogs, you know that I had a reoccurring UTI and I got pretty bad like painful cramps a couple days ago. And then also my best friend Sophie, she had her gallbladder removed, so she had like a surgery. It's been a busy week. I've been looking after her as much as I can and also just trying to take care of my own body. I also fell and then I hurt my hand, so that just made everything really hard. I couldn't really do anything because my hand was injured. But anyways, enough about me. I just wanted to like let you guys know what's been going on so that you know I'm not like just gone for no reason. So thank you guys so much for being patient, and now let's just go ahead, jump right into this video. In this video, I'm gonna answer some of your DMs that you sent me about whatever's going through in your life. First question actually comes from June. And June, if you guys haven't seen his videos yet on Instagram, Lord, he is so funny. Like if you guys are looking for a good comedian on Instagram to watch, he is your mans, okay? I'd love if you talked about anyone pursuing their endeavors and it feels like you're taking 2 steps back. Currently working 2 jobs and still trying to consistently think of create videos, audition, acting classes, etc. Just been a little overwhelming. I'd love to hear some of your earlier and or current struggles because there's beauty in relating to struggles. I 100% relate and I totally agree. When I was still in college, so that was probably like, I want to say like 6 years ago, I was going to school, I was interning, I was actively looking for jobs, and on top of that, I was trying to maintain my YouTube channel. So I've definitely had that transitional period too where I'm just like, okay, so which one am I supposed to focus on? Because right after I got my AA degree, I was like, I should probably do my bachelor's because everyone was talking about getting their bachelor's and it just felt right to, but that would have been another $60,000 on top of the loan that I had to repay. So I was like, fuck it. And I decided to just not go that route. Not that I recommend that route for everybody, but personally for me, I thought that's not something that I needed to continue to pursue. I feel like it's always really hard to try to juggle everything. I really value my mental health. I wasn't always like this before. I used to be like a go-getter, like just work, 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 make money. But over the years, I've learned through my parents that you can't overwork yourself because there are a lot of things that we want to do in life. But because we always constantly feel like we're in this time crunch, it takes a huge toll on our health and our mental health. Over the years, I've really learned that that should always come first. I mean, of course, your passion is very important, but I think over time, when you constantly keep pushing yourself to juggle 1,000 different things, you get burnt out, and instead of loving what you do, you end up kind of resenting what you do. So my biggest advice on this is to follow your heart on your biggest passion as of right now. Instead of trying to squeeze everything into one basket and doing everything at once and burning yourself out, pick maybe the top one or the top 2 things that you really want to pursue and start with that first. I mean, I feel like everyone's work ethic is different though, so I'm not saying that you should definitely go with what I'm saying, because there's a lot of people who can juggle so many things and still be able to be very efficient and very happy. But I think the bottom line is to always remember to put yourself first, like your well-being and your health, and don't burn yourself out. The next question she asked, okay, so I feel like I've always jumped from one relationship to another and it's really hard to find myself. I fall in love fast and maybe have fear of being alone. So basically my question is, how do I get to know myself? How do I figure out my place in this world? Obviously, there's no answer to this, but maybe you can give me some tips in your next video. As you guys know, I've been with Wall for the last like 7 years. So basically, once I reached adulthood, I've been in a relationship, but I can kind of relate from the person I was when I was in high school. I think that I had such a void in my life because I didn't have good relationship with my family. I didn't have a lot of friends. So I always seeked like validation from guys. Like I always wanted to date someone because I wanted to feel loved. I think that the fact that you know this about yourself, you're already 2 steps ahead. So don't beat yourself up too much about it, because it is really hard finding ourselves, because there's so many distractions in the world, whether it be relationships, whether it be like social media, people in your life, family members, friends. My biggest advice to finding yourself is having me time. I am so big on me time, and I don't think a lot of people realize how important me time is. I think a lot of people, when they get a day off or if they have vacation, immediately they think about, oh, like, let me call up my friends, let me call up my family, and like, let's get together and hang out. Although that is great, and I think, you know, there is value to hanging out with your friends and your family, there is so much value in hanging out alone. And for people that are not introverted, I'm very introverted, believe it or not. I mean, like, I have a side of me where I can be very outgoing, but if you're asking me truly deep down inside who I am, I'm definitely an introvert. If you are very introverted, this may be very easy for you, but if you are more of an extrovert, you may find it very hard to have me time and alone time, because for people like that, I think you just feel like that's way too lonely. The way I see me time is that this is a great time to kind of figure out who you want to be. You can't really figure out who you want to be when you're constantly surrounding yourself with other people, because in a sense, you're getting influenced regardless. So it's better to just spend time alone, whether that be going to a restaurant alone, going on a trip by yourself. A solo trip, by the way, I think is the most amazing thing. I took my first solo trip last year and I had the best experience. And the reason I went on that solo trip is because I did want to kind of like find myself and see what my abilities were. I wanted to know if I can truly just be alone, you know? And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to necessarily mean like you have to be completely secluded from people. Whatever it may be that you enjoy doing, try doing those things alone instead of needing someone to be with you. I think in those moments of solitude is where you really find yourself. And for any of you that are just feeling lost in life, just know that you'll eventually just know that you will eventually get there. Too many of us are too hard on ourselves, and it doesn't have to be that way. Life is not meant to be so stressful. I think there's this whole like stigma, is that the word, around being busy and being like doing something big. But why isn't there more of a like trend? Why isn't there more of that around taking care of ourselves mentally and physically? I feel like life is so short that if you're constantly just working and like doing things that make you unhappy or whatever it is, it's not a life that is meaningful. Next question comes from someone who wants to remain anonymous. Actually, everyone wants to remain anonymous, so I'm just gonna kind of skim through her question. But basically, she's a girl who is 22 years old, and she feels very lost and confused on what she wants to do with her life because she feels like she's already 22 years old. So she wants to ask if I've ever been in the same situation. First of all, sister, 22, child, if you don't mind, thank you. 22 is so young, and this goes back to my last response, and that is, why do we have this pressure of constantly being someone and like having it all figured out so soon? I know, I mean, to be realistic, I can understand that because this is the society that we live in, but I truly do feel like we are all pressured just way too much. We're just gonna wait. You good? Oh, no. You feel better? All right, let's continue. I do understand that there is this pressure in the society that we live in that you have to figure things out, but I think what people should focus on a little more is just the moment. Life is constantly changing, and why put the pressure of like, okay, I need to figure out what I want to do now so that by this age, I'll be here, and then this is the job that I'll do for the rest of my life. I grew up in a family like that where my mom wanted, or both my parents, they all wanted me to be either a doctor, a lawyer, and I always felt this pressure where I had to figure that out before I even graduated high school because I needed to know what major I was gonna apply to, and it was just a lot of pressure. And this is like before I even became an adult. Why do we have to decide what we want to do before we become adults so that we can go to school to work towards that goal, and then for the rest of our lives, this is our career? When you think about that, it's like, why do we have to determine things that we want to do in our life at at such a young age, and that's gonna define who we are for the rest of our lives. That's just crazy to me. Everyone thinks differently, so I don't wanna sit here and like say that the way I'm thinking is right, because some other people chase different things. Some people really chase stability, and I respect that and I understand that. But if you're asking me personally and how I will raise my children in the future, I don't ever want people or like my kids to feel like I need to figure out who I want to be for the rest of my life when I'm still just a child. You know, like 22 is so young still. And although you may feel like, okay, I don't really know what am I doing, it doesn't mean that the next 5 years from now, you will still be lost. But if you're asking me, how can I find something to be passionate about? The first step you need to do is look at your interests. Look at things that you've enjoyed doing since you were young. I think that's a great place to start. It's crazy because I realized that a lot of the things that I want to do in the future now are things that I've dreamt of as a kid, but were things that were suppressed by my family because that wasn't successful. It's so crazy to me that all I want to be now is just who I've always wanted to be when I was a kid. So I think that is a great place to start. Think about what you wanted to do when you were a child. And if there's nothing there, then think about what it is that you enjoy doing now, like on your spare time. What are things that you enjoy doing? And I know that some people can say, dude, I really don't even know. I don't have any interest at all. And if that was the case, that's okay too. You need to just go out. That's the next step. Meet new people, even though it's hard and it's like uncomfortable. Get out there, whether it be meet people or you can even do things alone. You need to start picking up on a new hobby, start researching different things that are fun on YouTube. Like, I mean, all this is so accessible. The worst thing you can possibly do is just beat yourself up and say like, you know, there's nothing that I can do, because there's always something that you can do. You just have to go look for it. And that journey of looking for things that you're passionate about is going to be tricky, and it's going to be hard sometimes, because you'll probably go through a lot of different things and think like, actually, this still doesn't spark any interest for me, but you got to keep trying. But I truly believe that as long as you have just a little spark in you to push yourself to find something that sparks joy in you, thank you, Marie Kondo, it will come. All right, so for the next question, she'd like to ask something that has been affecting her social life would be, how do you stay interested and enthusiastic in making new friends, keep the conversations going? Because I feel so dead inside and I honestly don't know why. I did try to act interested when talking to new people, but I never genuinely felt that way. It almost becomes exhausting for me. I was never this way, and I used to be so interested in making small talk and getting to know people, but not anymore. I'm not facing anything bad in my life, so I don't get why this is happening. Can I just say, you guys, like, we are always in tune with how we feel. Like, a lot of the questions that you guys ask me, I completely relate, whether I'm going through it myself at the moment or it's something that I like went through recently. We're always in tune somehow. So for your question, girl, can I just say, this is why I stopped going to like socializing events. Like, oh my God, it's so funny because I moved to LA like 2 years ago because I was like, you know, like being a YouTuber, I need to be getting out there. I need to be going to these events and stuff. And not that anything is wrong with the events. Don't get me wrong. It's not the events, it's who I am. It's who I am. I've realized that because I am an introverted person, it's just not the place for me. And it's okay. I used to feel bad because I'm like, well, everybody else that's a YouTuber is doing it. Like, everyone is going out there, networking, meeting new people. And I felt a little guilty that I wasn't doing that. But it made me realize that it just made me feel dead inside too. I'm like, every time I'm at these events and we're just small talking, can't we just say like, small talking is some bullshit. Like, why do we even ask each other like, yeah, how have you been? Oh my God, you caught us at such a great time. Isn't the weather great? Yeah, I know, it was like so rainy last week in LA, and then now it's like sunny. It's been so great. I am so guilty of doing that, and I absolutely hate it. Like, that's the type of small talk that I'm just like, do we even care? Sometimes when I'm in the middle of just like small talking with someone, I look at them in the eye and I'm just like drowning away. I'm looking at them and I just feel like, damn, you are not interested in anything I have to say right now. You probably feel dead inside too, but you're probably here for the same reasons, because you feel like you need to be networking because this is part of your job and you don't truly want to be here. And this is like kind of what I've realized with that. It's not that something is necessarily wrong with like the events, it's your personality type. And not that it's something wrong with you either, but I think it's important for us to realize how we are as a person. Sometimes I think it may be helpful if you take like certain personality tests, then you can get a better understanding of who you are, because that's definitely helped me. I've also looked into like horoscopes as well, and it kind of helped explain who I am as a person. I mean, I don't think everyone believes in horoscopes, but I think like, you know, it's worth looking at, okay? You don't have to fully indulge and believe in it, but if you're really truly feeling like you don't even have a sense of self, it could be good to just kind of research a little bit, like whether it be take personality tests or look up your horoscope, because sometimes you can get some answers from that. I think what it is for you, it's that you used to be more talkative because maybe you haven't really been to many social settings. And so therefore it was exciting to be in social settings. But then over time you've realized that all of these social settings just made you feel dead inside. So now you're kind of like let me kind of pull away from it because this doesn't spark joy for me. And I think it's totally normal. You don't need to pressure yourself to like necessarily go and do small talk with people. I truly believe that although it's important to get out there and meet people, if the connection ain't there, don't force it. Don't force it, because nothing is worse than trying to force a connection. I mean, we all been there, done that. It is the most empty, nasty feeling you feel inside. It just feels so like pointless. So I truly believe that if ever you are trying to just like get out there and like, you know, be social, if the connection just ain't there after 10 minutes, don't feel bad to walk away from it nicely and then try to spark new conversations with other people. What it is that you're just not connecting with that particular person, but it doesn't mean that you won't ever connect with other people. Take a moment to yourself to kind of figure out who you are, who you want to be, how do you want to present yourself, and then when you feel ready, then go and try to socialize again. And if that's still not working, then it's okay. Like, it really is okay. Not all of us needs to be a social butterfly, and not all of us need to be very comfortable in social settings, because we all have different personality types, and that is okay. Next question. I thought this one was a little more lighthearted. So she said, love you and your girl talk videos. You're such a great role model for me, and I'm sure others as well. And I wanted to ask you, I'm a fur mom of one and always feel guilty leaving my dog for work or even going out to the store since he is alone. With your busy schedule and being a fur mom of 3, was wondering, how do you balance keeping your dogs happy but yet being able to be productive and get things done at the same time? I totally feel you on this mom guilt thing. Even for someone like me, I work from home, as you guys know, and I'm with my dogs a lot, but because I'm working at home, I am working while I'm home. Just because I'm there doesn't physically mean that I'm giving attention to my dogs. Regardless, I do feel like it's still better for my dogs because at least someone's home with them. But I do struggle with that like dog mom guilt too, because I follow a lot of other dog accounts and they're always going on hikes. They're going on all these adventures. And I would look and I'm like, oh damn, like I didn't even get to walk my dogs today, or like I didn't even take them on a hike this week. And I would feel that guilt too. But what I've realized is that we are doing the best we can. And sometimes we just need to give ourselves just a pat on the back and be like, you are trying your best. We are so conditioned to feel guilty and like bad for things that we are doing or not doing that we forget to just kind of like take a moment and step back and just be like, good job, girl. The fact that you're even thinking about this and having this dog mom guilt, you are already a great dog mom. A lot of people just like have backyard dogs where they're just left outside through the wind, the cold, the sun, and your dog, I'm sure, is loved as much as you can whenever you have the time. So I think it's really important to remember that you are doing the best you can and you are providing your dog shelter, food, medical attention if needed, and that is already like a lot more than a lot of dogs in this world. Like, there are dogs who are left to die alone on the streets. There are dogs who are in the shelter who have been abandoned. And sometimes when I do feel these like dog mom guilt feelings, I always think about, just because I may not be doing everything that I want to be providing my dogs with, I'm still giving my dog a great life. So hopefully that's helpful to you. I mean, I completely understand though, because sometimes when I'm not walking my dogs and taking them out on a hike, I feel so bad. But whenever you can, you know you will. So at those moments when you do have some free time and you can walk them and take them, like, you know, to pet stores and go on hikes and stuff, just really cherish those moments, because I think your dog really appreciates those moments. What do I think of kids? I've never been super maternal, but I feel like I will have a bit of FOMO if I don't at least give it a shot. Any thoughts on how to make a decision, or just go for it? LOL, I'd like to stay anonymous. Okay, girl, I swear we are on the same wavelength. Like all of you asking me these questions, like we're on the same wavelength. So y'all know, you know, I'm turning 26 this month, and I always thought that like, you know, by 30, I would have kids. Like 30 would be like the ideal time. Now that I'm reaching the age, you know, I'm getting a little closer, and every time I see my family, there's always that question of, when are you getting married? When are you having kids? And I would always feel like not giving a good answer, because I don't know, because I truly don't know. I don't know when I want to get married. I mean, if you ask me, if Wall were to propose tomorrow, would you say yes? Well, yeah, girl, like I've been with a guy for how many years? Like, of course it's a serious relationship, but there's also no rush for me. And then if you ask me about kids, it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe, but I'm like you, I don't feel like I have maternal instincts like that. I am very motherly to my dogs. I have a special place in my heart for dogs and rabbits. But if you were to ask me, and honestly, this feels a little like messed up to say, I don't really like kids. I know a lot of people have children, and obviously like everyone is just on a different path, right? But personally, I never saw myself as a mother. I never really had that maternal instinct in me. Like a lot of girls or women dream of the day they get married and like dream of the day they have a family, but that was never really my dream. Like I think I've always wanted to fall in love, and that's all I really wanted. Like I just wanted to be happy and like in a relationship with someone that loves me and like cares for me, and I do have that now. And even with that, it still doesn't push me to think like, oh well, the next step is marriage and having kids. It's just not who I am. I'm not saying that I will never, but I can really understand you when you ask me this question. Like you kind of feel like guilty, and you feel like, oh, am I missing out if I don't experience this part of life? But then also like truly, you're not like really for it either. So my answer to that, and something that I've realized, is that you're not, I mean, you may be missing out in a sense where you'll never really understand what it's like to have like a baby, but you can still feel fulfilled in many other areas of life. You know, just because you don't experience this part of it doesn't mean your life will be less amazing by any means. You know, like I have family members who have been married for many years and they decided that they don't want to have children. So you are not alone. I think that just anything in life, whenever you feel ready, you will just know, like something will just hit you like a ton of bricks, like, this is what I want. But if you're questioning it a lot, and you just don't really feel like it's who you are, and the reason you want to do it is because you feel like it's the right thing to do or like the traditional thing to do, then I think just give yourself a little more time. Don't force it, don't rush it. There is no rush, you know? And I've also even thought about like, okay, if I don't think that I really want kids necessarily right now, maybe I could like freeze my eggs. I mean, that's a lot of research to do and whatnot, but that could be an option. Like that's something that I'm thinking about too. And I'm like, because I just don't see myself having kids in the next 3, 4, 5 years. So yeah, it's really tricky. I think it's really tricky, but most importantly, you just have to ask yourself, like deep down, what is it that I want, and not for anybody else? And I think you'll find your answer there. This question, she would like to remain anonymous as well. And basically, in a nutshell, she asked, with being with Wah for so long, have you ever had moments where you thought of taking a break or taking time off for yourself or just to meet other people? I've been with my boyfriend for 6 years, and occasionally I would get thoughts about what my life would be like if I had taken personal time off for myself, or if I was able to meet and date other people. I don't want to break up, but those thoughts would sometimes pop up, and I always feel so bad and guilty about thinking like that. I swear, we're always on the same wavelength. Okay, so I don't necessarily feel this way now or that way now, but I will tell you, I'm being really honest with you. A couple years ago, I have a friend who read a book, and the book basically explains how it's okay and totally normal for us humans to sometimes have other thoughts and kind of like a wandering eye, because we're kind of curious. And I know society makes it seem like, oh my God, you want to cheat, like how fucked up, right? It's always so wrong to think, oh, like if you're in a relationship and you see another guy and you're like, oh, he's cute. Like it's so wrong. Like for some reason, just because you're taken, you're not allowed to do that anymore. And I feel like that is a standard in a relationship that is kind of messed up too. It's totally normal for us, even though we're in a committed relationship, for human beings to feel like someone else is attractive, and that you can have like second thoughts like, oh, like what if I was with that person? Because realistically, that's not what you're gonna do, but it's totally normal for the human mind to have that type of curiosity. You know what I mean? To answer your question, no, I have never thought about like, oh, what if I was with somebody else? The only time I've probably felt that way was when like Juan I, or like whenever Juan I would like get in a big fight, and I'm just like, oh hell no, like I don't know if I could be with him. If I was with somebody else, he won't be doing this to me. Like I would have those like thoughts, like anyone would. But other than that, I've never thought to myself like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I was with somebody else, or if I had more time to myself without him? Because I truly believe that there are soulmates in the world, and Wah is truly my soulmate. I feel complete that I have him, even through all the bad times, even though he would piss me off sometimes. And sometimes I just think, or I don't really have these thoughts anymore, but like earlier on in our relationship, I do sometimes think like, damn, did I make the right decision? But I will say as a whole, overall, even through all the fights, I've always known that he was the one for me and that he made me feel complete. I still feel like being with him allows me to be myself a lot. Like in no way are we holding each other back from our life. I think we're very in line with what we want in life. And I think if ever I did want to do something crazy, he would be the type of person to support me. But I just want to let you know that if ever you do feel like, man, I kind of need some alone time, it's not wrong for you to feel that way. And you don't have to necessarily break up with the person for you to feel like you can go and like do your own thing and find your own like light. You can always talk to your partner about it and see if they're supportive. And to be honest, if they're not supportive in who you want to be and they're holding you back in life, I don't think that's the right relationship. You should always complement each other in a relationship and not like control each other. That's what a lot of relationships are, I think. Especially like the older generation. It's about like, I own you and you're mine, and like you do what I want, and like we're supposed to move in one line. I think that when the person is your soulmate and it is that person for you, you guys can walk together, but also walk separately too. You guys should just kind of be there to advise each other and to support each other. Talk to him first, you know, let him know what your goals and dreams are. And if that means like you guys need to kind of like take a little time apart, not breaking up, but things such as like having more me time to yourself, let him know like, hey babe, like I need a little more me time this month. Like I just need some space, you know, I need to like chill out, and you know, I want to like get to know myself and have some fun alone. And he should understand that. And if he doesn't, then we already know, you know, we already know he might not be the one. All right, but anyways, in a nutshell, don't ever feel guilty about wanting to do you. You're in a relationship, but you are not in a locked contract, okay? You are still always your own person. You are still always allowed to do whatever the heck you want, whatever the heck you please, and live your life. All right, everyone. So I think I'm just gonna wrap up the video now. It's been pretty long and my throat is getting really dry. You can probably hear it in my voice. And I hope that my responses are helpful to you. If there's anything else you guys want me to talk about, make sure you follow me on Instagram, because that's usually where I take polls and ask you guys questions and submit questions for these types of videos. So my Instagram is just my name, @Weylie. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for your support. And if you're new here, hello. If you haven't subscribed, the button is below. Make sure you subscribe, join the family, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Thank you. Bye.